Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Christmas week. I'm one of your hosts, Mike.
I'm your other host, James.
And I'm the third host, Joey.
And this is the Gameroom Discourse podcast, Christmas week edition. And here is Joey with your topic of today.
Today's topic will be Nintendo and all of its great things, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of its shortcomings.
Specifically, today we're going to be covering less about the game side of Nintendo, which we've talked about every single podcast that we've had, and more so about their corporate company business decisions, etc., which gets more muddy. So it's going to be fun. Joey, you have a document, so go on and start us off.
I do have a document. First thing I'm going to be talking about is the operating system, because isn't it weird?
Oh, God.
How, yes, there's a lot of things wrong with it.
We're starting with that one. Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Number one, something that the other consoles have that Nintendo doesn't, with PS5 being an exception. But I'm considering Switch part of like the Xbox One and PS4 thing, but folders.
Yeah.
Why the fuck don't we have folders?
Yeah.
Freaking folders.
Oh, my God.
I have so many games and I want to organize them because as we played Minecraft together before, I'm the serial organizer. I need things to be concise, clean.
Its file system is bad in general. The OS for it is bad in general.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh my goodness.
It makes it very inaccessible for people that want to, like, modding for it is difficult. There's a lot of difficult things for Nintendo and its OS.
Yeah, there's a lot of difficult things. And some things that it doesn't offer, like themes.
Oh, yeah.
That's like optional.
Themes for the Switch.
But
I don't know why they haven't done that.
We've had themes in games that's Xbox.
It's such a simple thing to implement, and they just have not. I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
It could literally just do colors, and at least that would work.
It's just a creative flair. It just makes things better.
And
just
there have been themes on the 3DS.
Yes.
Why aren't there themes on the Switch?
We don't have it on the
Switch.
Oh
my God. It's annoying.
It's very annoying. Oh yeah, and you like how there's no console browser?
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit of an optional thing, but if you're using it on your TV, that's another thing that you can do. Browse the web while you're just doing it. Or if you're on your bed and you don't want to bring out your phone and you have your Switch, it's another device. It should have those types of functionalities.
It's very easily hacked.
Also,
to a point that it's not even major news anymore. Like, it's major news when Xbox or PlayStation gets hacked and stuff gets leaked from Nintendo. It's like a usual thing.
Also, what about apps like Netflix, Disney Plus? And remember, Hulu and YouTube weren't in the console day one. It took forever for them to get it in.
Like, the alternate stuff besides gaming did not get to the Switch or to, like...
Is Netflix on the Switch yet?
No, it's not.
Is Netflix there? It's still not.
Still not.
At least we got YouTube, the worst of the bunch, but,
Like, for some reason, like, Nintendo seems to be behind the times in a bunch of stuff, like... Also, their netcode is bad.
Their netcode
is
trash.
Imagine paying for online for this much and then also still lagging very hard, even with the Ethernet on both sides.
Yes.
It's pretty frustrating.
Imagine choosing a Switch over a PlayStation 4. I mean, I love the Switch. I think it's my favorite console. But imagine, from an objective standpoint, choosing the Switch over the PS4. Like, you must be out of your mind.
You must only want I feel like you want the mobility more, or you want to play Nintendo games.
Honestly. Yeah, it's usually Nintendo first party or mobility.
I mean, yeah, but like, I don't know.
It's a thing because Nintendo has its own category. Yeah. They can't that's.
There's PlayStation and Xbox games, and then there's Nintendo.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Nintendo games don't feel like they can go to another console.
Because Nintendo is so close knit. They don't give anybody else anything. They keep it all to themselves.
Their stuff is normally very unique. Since they fit into a very unique style, like they're able to
Yeah, they could
get away with some of the bad stuff.
Nintendo could make a calculator. Nintendo could make a calculator, sell it for $1, and it would sell millions. Like,
funny you say that because on the DSi shop there were multiple Nintendo calculators that sold for $5 each.
Yeah, like that's how big their brand is. They could sell math. They could sell math for literally.
I mean,
money.
Right now I feel like we're avoiding like the elephant in the room with Nintendo corporate.
Yeah, we are, because it's gonna. Yeah.
Joy-Con shutting down tournaments.
Oh god, I didn't even write that down with them. I wrote this stuff about emulation down, but not them shutting down tournaments, because that is
tournaments.
so
Shutting
crap.
down tournaments.
A big house.
Like stuff that endorses their game.
Even ones that they don't use mods, they will still try. They tried to shut down Evo 2013 because Brawl was supposed to be more popular.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's so terrible.
Nintendo's corporate hates its fans. They only
I feel
love
like it hates its workers too.
Yeah.
Well, that too, but like they only like their fans. It seems like when they're in the shitter, when they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with recently, they're sponsoring I think it's Panda Global tournament, which I'm very cautious about. Yes, they are sponsoring a Panda Global tournament.
If you want to do anything, remember when Nintendo, when you wanted to make content about anything in Nintendo, you had to go through them in order to not get completely destroyed by like copyright strikes and stuff.
And not to mention, just getting in contact with them is like impossible.
Just pain.
They are
shut down a lot of creators that way.
Infuriating. They shut down Metroid's Metroid 2, I think it was.
Another Metroid 2 remake.
They shut down another Metroid 2 remake on its anniversary.
Yeah.
Instead of acknowledging it.
Because Nintendo doesn't like fan games because it steals from their IP, even though they're giving it out for free. And Sega literally hires the people who make the fan games to make their games better.
Because Sega sucks, but you know.
To be fair,
Frontiers
it feels like they have alternate teams all the time, so it's kind of hard to mesh properly.
Sega doesn't. Listen. I hate Microsoft. Sega doesn't very much suck. You know, I'm not going to say that, but you know. So, and this is Nintendo, not Sega. So, it is baffling to me that Nintendo's online in 2021 is as awful as it is when we've had the internet connectivity since the 90s.
Yeah.
It's the same netcode that it was on the Wii. Hold on, now someone's calling, making a good point.
It is actually?
It basically is the same.
From the
Wii.
Wii.
Changed the netcode.
That's absurd.
Okay, we'll just continue talking. Yeah, and guess what? Even though we still have to pay $20 for it, it used to be free on the Wii U. It used to be free on the Wii. And
see, I never used online on the Wii U because I never really cared. But like, I hear all the horror stories of like Brawl, Wii U, like for Smash in general. Because that's what I know most about Nintendo Online. But like for Smash, I hear the horror stories of Brawl online and Wii U online, and how you just kind of had to guess where your opponent was going to be because of how laggy it was.
Yeah, imagine an actual PowerPoint presentation. You know how we joke about things being like, oh, this is like a PowerPoint presentation? No, I'm saying this is basically a PowerPoint presentation with Brawl Online. It is that bad.
Yeah, it's... You and I played Brawl in the game room a few years back during that like retro week or whatever it was. And Brawl is a slow game.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine that slowness and that much lag input lag that's already in the moves. It's infuriating that they even tried online knowing it was that bad. Like, just don't give it to us at that point because of how bad it's just not finished. It doesn't work.
Yeah, the way that I put it is trying to watch molasses drip through honey. It's that bad.
It's infuriating.
Yeah. And well, yes, it is just $20, and you get like NES games and SNES games and Tetris 99, but then they had the audacity to try and sell us a $30 N64 and Genesis and not Assassin's Creed, Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC for a full $30 when $20 was barely justified. And it's not even part of the online thing, it's just a separate thing. It's not worth that much. Plus, you get a better service going for the free versions with emulators online. You have more accessibility. Everything is just Nintendo. They screwed up so badly.
Nintendo, why do you hate us?
No, it's just Nintendo's doing really good right now, so they know that they can shit all over people over and over, so they're gonna do it because people can take it. They did it with Skyward Sword HD, being a $60 game with, I'd say, less features because you don't have the IR sensor to just reconfigure the aiming when you're doing it.
Yep.
It's just gyro. And not only that, it's $60 with an amiibo that has a feature that should have been in the game without it, but you have like $16 DLC that's physical that you need to keep around. And the original version on the Wii was $40 with a special Wii remote and a soundtrack put all together. Why is the new version $60 with less content?
I don't know. And why are things locked behind an amiibo?
Yeah.
Why is quality of life features locked behind an amiibo that was sold out and discontinued?
Yeah. It's just ludicrous.
It makes no sense. Even from a business greedy, money grabbing standpoint, it makes no sense. It just doesn't. Like, you would make more money if you just forget the amiibo for a second. Like that, it's they don't make them anymore, and that they're like they were kind of hard to find. At least for me, they were hard to find. You know, when I got the game. Why exactly would you make something that's making you money and stop doing it? Like the Mario 3D All-Stars. Why would you make that limited time? Yeah, more people are going to buy it in that limited time because they can't get it again.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
But if you kept it going, more people would have bought it anyway. It just baffles me from a standpoint of like you're a company that likes to make money. I get it. Everyone does. Money's cool. I get it. So then make the decisions that would make you more money by pleasing your fans so that they don't have any reason to dislike you and they will just blindly support you. Because for a while, that's what it was. And now, like, a lot of things have been uncovered and they're just doing shitty things. And it's just like, you would be making more money if you just decided not to screw over the people that give you the money.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Welcome back. We just got on a rant.
It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
And for those of you who think like I'm not really dedicated to Nintendo, no. During the Wii U era, I only got the Wii U, no PS3, no Xbox 360, and basically was just like a fanboy, like, oh, Wii U's the best thing ever. Who wants GTA 5? That's just another online shooter. Not realizing it was a single player. It was a single player campaign game.
We had a Wii U. I had games on it that I played and enjoyed, but I didn't have my own Wii U, and I didn't really want one. I had my 3DS, and the 3DS is great. You know,
yeah, it wasn't great at the beginning, but it eventually became.
It got really good, and I still have it. I still play it. You know, but like
we like Nintendo games.
Nintendo games are always not always. Nintendo games most of the time are the epitome of quality. Most of the time, that's why they're still successful. If they didn't have good IPs and good games, a lot of these flaws that we're talking about would have sunk them years and years ago.
Years, exactly.
Yes, because I do have a couple examples of them making terrible games.
I mean, they've made bad decisions. Like
they've made bad games before. You know, just to quote the great Scott Woz, the great Wozniak himself. You know, Chibi Robo Ziplash, Animal Crossing
Amiibo Festival.
Amiibo Festival, and Ultra Smash. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. Like, you know, obviously I know Scott already did all these things, so you can go watch his video. But like, there have been plenty. Star Fox Zero. You know, like there are plenty of times where Nintendo has fucked up, but it's not a common occurrence. And the reason why we know all of these games off the top of our head and that they're bad is because they don't happen a lot. So when they happen, it sticks in our mind.
I mean, to be fair, they do make some strange decisions. I do want to say they
Some!
dedicate.
Where have you been?
I'm trying to lessen this. I'm like
All right, go on.
not trying to be super mean towards Nintendo because you might just straight up copyright this video of us talking
Nintendo
about it.
doesn't care about three nerds talking about their company.
You'd be surprised.
That's true. They are that kind of petty.
But I was gonna say, like, they spend a lot of time working on motion controls for both, you know, Wii U and Joy-Cons, and haven't had any companies really want to make games for
That is true. That is
because
true.
they spent.
It's hard.
Imagine how much time you had to spend on making motion controls. Like, oh my god, and then have no one use it. That's sunk money right there.
And imagine a double screen for the Wii U and not having anybody use the screen on the tablet.
Literally,
That is a
only
thing. That is
Nintendo
true.
used their stuff. Nintendo only
Nintendo's-
used their gimmicks.
And that's another thing. They fail, like with the Wii U in particular, which
And
is
even
really
then, they don't.
the biggest flaw in Nintendo's consoles is the Wii U. That's no secret. You know, like, yeah. But like when they were trying Star Fox Zero, I'm gonna go because it's my Star Fox Zero was the eye opener for me of like, wow, Nintendo can really screw up sometimes. But like Star Fox Zero was their Wii Sports essentially for the Wii U. That was their big IP revival, big hype thing, and to showcase their new system. And it sucked.
Indeed.
So it makes third parties not want to do your gimmicks if you can't even do your gimmicks.
Your gimmicks, exactly.
I mean, come on.
Like, it's like too many things like focus on their gimmick. Like Nintendo, especially, like dies on the hill of our gimmicks are going to be this thing's console. Like the important thing about their console, when they don't need to. Like the one thing the Switch has that like a lot of them did was that it's a mobile console. It's a mobile console.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to like it's.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't need to add they didn't need to add motion controls on top of that.
No, they didn't.
Especially when it hasn't turned out well and it hasn't worked in the past.
It's
Yeah, and I'm gonna make a clarification. When we talk about motion controls, we mean like waggle controls, like when big wide motions that not everybody can do. There's good motion controls in like gyro aiming.
Oculus, I would say like Oculus does a decent freaking job with motion controls. I mean, most like VR games do motion controls better than Nintendo has.
Yes, but I'm talking about like the Pro Controller, how you can aim with the analog stick, but then you can also move your controller slightly. You don't even have to move it that much. It's just slight to aim just a little bit. And that's good, and it's an option that you can choose if you like it, but you can turn it off. Like, who doesn't like options?
Doesn't like options. And with that, I'm going to go on to my rant. Excuse me, Nintendo. Excuse me. Button mapping. Do it.
Yeah. They do have operating system-wide button remapping, but it's not for individual games. So every single time you play a new game, you have to change that. And
and some of their games don't have it.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
And games haven't been updated. There's games that haven't updated for it, so you know.
Let us make your controls better.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to actually. Because all the other consoles allow that too. Both Xbox and PlayStation 4 allow you to remap your stuff.
Yes.
For all games,
guys,
universal
I wish
remapping.
I had face cam on because I'm so animated right now. Like I'm up out of my bed, I'm pacing around. I just went into like the the hunched over hand gestures of like, why won't
Just
you do
do
this?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Like, just
do it.
let us do it. If you're too lazy or too inept to let us or to make your controls the most effective that they can be, let us do it. We're the ones with the freakish hands. Just let us do it.
Just
We all have different hands.
you don't even have to think
I don't
about it.
use
Just
the A
think
button.
about the fact that people would want a different button.
I don't use the A button on my GameCube controllers because my sweaty ass hands, my A button always gets too sticky. So I use the X and the Y buttons. My X is my A and my Y is my B. Let me do that for all of my games. Instead of having to
fair enough.
switch between manual games where I can't change anything and it's A and B, instead of making it that, and then I can go back to other games where I can actually use my X and Y versus A and B, like Smash and games like that where I can do that, then I don't want to play those other games that I might really enjoy because I can't enjoy the buttons because of their controllers, which is a whole other thing.
Because you can't play. Why are the controllers they have very freaking uncomfortable? Dear
I don't
God.
know.
Like, every time they're uncomfortable. I don't know why.
And not only that,
I
they're
love the
incredibly
GameCube
fragile.
controller. I love the GameCube controller, and I think, and a lot of people agree with this. I think the GameCube controller, the original, is one of the greatest controllers ever made. It's perfect, and it's great. And the Switch Pro controller, that's kind of like a GameCube controller, although it's lighter, it's not bad. It's a little more fragile, and a little more prone to breaking. Yes, and that's a big problem. But that aside, the comfortability is still there. But the Joy-Cons, they suck, and they're what's the other one? The thing that holds the Joy-Cons in it. Hold on, that like weird thing
The
you
grip?
plug them into.
I know what you mean. Like
The Joy-Con grip.
Whatever it is, yeah, that
Yeah, the
thing. It
grip.
comes with the console, and you just never use it because it's awful.
Yeah, you're better off just using two separate ones or putting it on the tablet.
And they're I love their designs for their own like Switch Pro controllers, not the Switch Pro GameCube controllers, the Switch Pro controllers. The ones like they have all their special designs, and I buy a lot of them because of the designs. But I keep them in the box because I know I won't like to use them.
Yeah.
Fair
Like
enough.
I have both of the Zelda console Switch Pro controllers because they're great, and I love the designs and they're real cool, like antiques or like what's the word? They're real cool. Not antiques.
Collectibles.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
showing off things.
They're really cool collectibles. But like, I plugged one in and tried to use it, and it broke in the first hour of me playing Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Like, that's not a very aggressive game.
Yeah, it really isn't.
I mean, you hit the same few buttons a few times, but guess what? The buttons aren't what broke for me. It was the bottom middle analog stick. Like, how? You hit it maybe twice. You use it to scroll for your arrow. Like, it's not some. They're so fragile. It's like they're made with glass.
Yeah.
A lot of Nintendo products seem to be frail. Remember the DS?
Okay, yeah,
DS.
what? That's my own fault. I was about to bring up the fact that I've broken two DS lights, and then I remembered one of them I slammed on the back of a bus. And
Yeah, one of them,
and the
one
other
of them
one
you
I
slammed on the back of
flung.
the bus, and the other one you threw across a room.
I threw across my room into a wooden table leg. So I'm not gonna say they're frail for that reason. That's
No,
my
one I dropped like 2 feet and it broke, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, they are fragile.
The screens were bad. I mean, the Joy-Cons now also remind me of like, man, these are really fragile. I don't think this is.
I want to scream. Like, I don't understand it. How can a company make such beloved games year after year, month after month, time after time after time, make some of, if not the most memorable franchises and IPs in the world, and probably for all time, at least up until this point, nothing's topped Mario. I recently found a person who didn't know what Call of Duty was, but they knew what Mario was. Like, how do you have that kind of success and be this disconnected from your audience?
Disconnected and out of touch seems to be Nintendo's thing out of the gaming companies for some reason.
They're still not using discs.
Yeah, they used it for the Wii and the Wii U, but they were like, let's go back to the old cartridge thing, small
And they went
cartridge.
back. They went backwards.
I will say that one thing that's good about that is that you don't have to download every single game.
I mean,
When
also
you-
you don't have to worry about the scratches for it, but I mean,
Yeah.
That is true.
but the
I shouldn't have
cartridges
brought up
themselves,
that
I feel
point.
like I feel like I could lose the cartridges really easily.
I shouldn't
Yeah.
have brought up that point because I prefer the cartridges. Honestly, honestly, God, I prefer the cartridges over the discs for that reason because I have really sweaty hands and I just destroy discs when I try to, come within a foot of them. So, like, personally, but like overall, discs are just better, and I am not blind to that fact. I believe
They can also hold more
they can hold so much more.
Mhm.
They're
But, like,
uniform.
personally,
Anyone can burn it
but, like,
properly.
overall, it's an insane thing.
Speaking
They're
of
Wii.
storage,
Oh, go yeah.
Go for
isn't it
storage.
weird how in the digital gaming world, the Switch only has 32 gigabytes of native storage?
You know what? Here's a fun fact. Before James, because I know you were getting geared up, but I have a quick thing about that. I have literally in my hand two 128 gigabyte micro SD cards and a 256 micro SD card, and they're all filled.
Yep. I have a 512 gigabyte one, and it's filled.
There's so many games, and it's just like just how?
And it's like, just
Doom
get...
Eternal alone takes up the entirety of the Switch's library of data space.
Jeez.
It does. Yeah. It's a 20 gigabyte game.
Yeah.
And your system is like 8 gigabytes or whatever.
Yeah, you basically only have room for like one game and maybe two indie games, and then it's full. And then you have to get like a whatever amount of SD card, and then that fills up, and so you have to get a bigger one or the same one. It's...
Yep.
And yes, I understand the whole thing of just get physical, then you don't have to download it, and you don't have to worry about storage. But there's still
not
updates.
Every game is physical.
Yeah. Exactly. And then there are ones that you can't get physical that just take up storage because it's digital only. And then guess what?
Undertale or Deltarune.
Or
Doom.
Yeah, and then there are games that just physical copies take up physical space. Where are you gonna put them when you bring them places? You're gonna need a little plastic case, and who's to say that doesn't fill up if you're collecting games?
I have 2 game cases, and they're both now filled.
Yeah.
I have the jumbo one as well, and it's almost filled. Like it's
just so stupid.
They're infuriating.
Yeah. Basically, if you wanted to be a convenient portable system, you need to get like a huge SD card if you're going to want a lot of games. Or if you don't really care that much about portability but still want to use it, you're going to need a bunch of game cases. Because if you bring around like every single one of those DVD type cases for that little cartridge, that fills up a backpack really quickly. You're gonna need one of those plastic shell cases.
You have to get different colors for each one to know which ones have which game.
Exactly.
Like, I understand the cartridge thing because to make the Switch more mobile.
Yeah, I
get it.
It
would be better for the heavy cartridge and the small ones.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have a space
but
for.
Still, when you have the dock and everything, you could probably do something where it's like, oh, you can put your disc in the dock, and then you can put your Switch up to there.
Why not have a game on a disc and a cartridge? Why not have it come with both? A disc version and a cartridge.
Because that would be too much money.
It would be too much money, too much work.
Yeah, and Nintendo doesn't like work.
Logically, that makes a good sense.
Some games
would only be discs, and some games would only be cartridge for like mobility and for base. But like a lot of the games that run on both, could just be both. One, we're preaching to the choir.
We have manual and digital now. That's like enough that people want to do. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
Making two physical copies, 2 separate physical copies alone would be difficult.
Yeah.
It'd be unnecessary. Not just
being a good game company is apparently difficult as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't you like how the Switch only has 3 options to choose from? All of which are basically the same except one you just can't dock.
Options with what?
Yep.
Okay, you have the Switch Lite, which is
Okay, you
only
mean by that.
portable.
Yeah.
Switch
Okay,
Lite, which is
Switch
only
Lite.
portable, and the controllers are wired in. They're like soldered in, so if they happen to break or get drift, which is very likely, you're screwed, and you can't
Very
dock
likely.
it. Even if you have a dock, or even if you have like your own separate thing, it doesn't have the internals to dock. So that's just portable only for $100 less.
Can I just say, I've used my Joy-Cons maybe twice. Because I don't usually use my Switch outside of my room. I don't really make it mobile. I don't really care for it. It doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm too scared I'll break it. So I usually just use it as a console. But, like, I've used my Joy-Cons maybe twice. And I've loaned them to my younger brother, who's not like a 6-year-old. My younger brother's 16. You know, and he takes care of his stuff for the most part. So, and I've loaned him a couple times. But, like, they already broke. They have a horrid drift already, and they've been used a couple times. Like my 19-year-old GameCube controller, the original, my 19-year-old GameCube controller still doesn't drift, and I've put that thing through a wall.
Yeah.
mean,
It's just so stupid.
I have put that controller through a wall, and it didn't break.
Meanwhile, the Joy-Cons, slight breeze,
Okay.
drift.
It's like an uncased iPod. Like they just break.
Not only that, but the plastic that encases it is so soft and brittle. It like if you drop it on anything sort of rough, it makes an immediate indent.
I don't understand how they.
It feels
Not
like
to-
they have very bad quality in terms of like making like products for some reason. I mean,
I don't
making
understand.
products that aren't games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't understand. How do you screw up like this?
And then there was the
Consistently.
there was the connectivity problems with the left Joy-Con in the beginning, and I have
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
I have a set of Joy-Con that doesn't list as charging whenever I plug it in or put it to the sides of the Switch, despite the fact that it has really good connection. And then I have another set where the R button just doesn't work because of how much I used it. It's just, there are so many problems.
Yep.
It's like there's no repair or anything for that stuff. You just have to go buy a new one.
You have to either buy a new one or send it in, which costs like however many.
I mean, repair for that is like, yeah, you have to send it in. But then they're just gonna be like, just buy a new.
Exactly.
There's no repair.
I don't understand Nintendo's decision making, and
Yeah.
The fact that they also ignore it too also kind of makes
like
me go
acknowledge
like,
your mistakes. Come on.
Yeah, they pretend like it doesn't exist, which is terrible because that makes people hate you even more when it most definitely does exist.
Bring back Reggie. He'd have been like, man, we screwed up. We'll make it better for you. Reggie was the best thing Nintendo ever did. Now, I love Bowser. Doug Bowser's pretty cool. He's a good guy. He's fun. But he doesn't have any say in anything, really. He's just a face. Reggie, I feel like, had an impact because of how much people loved him.
Reggie had an impact. He actually he said in multiple interviews that what he likes to do is bring a company from the ground up when they're failing, and which he did that amazingly with the GameCube and the Wii U.
Yeah, he did, and he's the best.
Yeah, and he actually has a personality.
And he supported tournaments, and he was great, and he knew how to take jokes.
He trash talked Hungrybox.
He trash talked Hungrybox, even when he got 5 stocked. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
No Johns, and he came back with his own retorts. Like, hey, you spent your time making this. I've spent my time making this. Like he's a character. He was great, and then they got rid of him, or he quit. I don't know exactly which happened.
He quit because he wanted to make another company better with GameStop, which yeah, it's gonna take a while.
It's gonna take a while. Give him some
is a whole
time.
other issue.
GameStop's a problem.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Yes, but now back to Nintendo. Okay, so I started talking about the Switch Lite, which is portable only, and it has all the terrible build problems of everything else, and it's built in so you can't replace it easily. And then there's the regular option, which is portable and normal, and yeah, it's fine, it's usable. It's just $300 for something that is worse than a Series S at this point. And yes, it's portable, but it's yes, we're gonna talk about this later.
Yeah, it's I don't understand.
Yeah, and then there's the OLED version, which is slightly better portable, which
I like the OLED version, but it's too much money for what should have been done in the beginning.
Yes, it's too much money for what it should have been at the beginning, especially with the dock. The dock should have had that Ethernet port at the beginning of when it was released. Nintendo is so backwards with their internet. It is.
Hold on, pause.
terrible.
I gotta pause everything. They are listening to us. Hold on a second.
What?
Everybody watching this, and you too, I was just on Google and I was just curious about the OLED and whatnot and how it's doing. I didn't even type in OLED. Joey said OLED dock and Ethernet, something like that. You said something about that.
Yeah.
As I had typed in Switch. I just typed in Switch. And I get an article, like, I didn't even hit send. Like, I'm still in the browser of, like, typing in what I wanted to search. I typed Switch. First thing that comes up, Nintendo will sell you the Switch OLED's dock with built-in Ethernet. I'm like, what the hell? You were still saying the sentence.
Yeah, they're always listening.
Back to your regularly scheduled rant.
Yes.
Go on.
So I'm going to say with the OLED, it's basically a slightly better portable for $50 extra for something that should have been the original. And not only that, the performance is exactly the same. And now to get into the performance, because I am a PC gamer and frames per second, rate. I would like it if Nintendo games ran at 60 frames per second, 1080p on their console. But they don't run like that. I would like it if they run 30 frames per second on their console. It doesn't run like that. It runs less than 30 frames per second, which is that's Nintendo 64 level of performance in an era where we're going further ahead to like 120 hertz 4K. I don't really care about 4K. 4K is just something else. Sure, it would be nice to have a Switch with 4K, like an option for that.
We'll get 4K when 16K comes out.
Yes. Or, yeah, when 32K comes out. But Hyrule Warriors runs crap on their own system. They made the game. Why doesn't it run fine? And it's just... it's... And not only that, but then there are the third-party options which run even worse. And half of the time, you're either going to have a huge download, which is terrible because you only have 32 gigs, or it's going to be a cloud version where you can only play with an internet connection and it's laggy and it's terrible. Or sometimes it's both, where you download part of it and then the other part is on the cartridge, where it's just, no, why even bother?
Yep.
Why even bother putting a physical cartridge of it out when you're going to have to download most of it anyway?
Yep. Preach it to the choir, my man. It's infuriating, and I don't understand it.
Yeah. And then they have their... sorry, I'm going to be going on for a while.
Oh, keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Next part. Why the fuck do updates for games take forever?
Forever. Oh my god. Especially when you don't have anything loaded at all. Like, you're not doing anything.
Yo, dude, you just brought in a light bulb into my head. I'm like, bro, how did I forget about this? Why does it take so long to transfer data from like one SD card to the Switch? Why does it take so much? Why does the Switch, a Gen 4, whatever gen we're in, it's like a next gen console, suck at being fast? Why? Why is it just slow? Everything. You ever had to like move a bunch of games from like your console or your SD card to the console or vice versa?
Multiple times. I've had to upgrade my SD cards multiple times.
It takes hours.
It does. It really does.
For no reason.
Why?
It's basically because you would think with having the data on it, it would be like solid state drive speeds. Because this is going a little technical, but it's really hard drive speeds. It's not good at all.
No, it's
so
not.
slow. You would get better performance for cheaper on a PC. Yeah.
It's so aggravating.
And the thing is, I wasn't even talking about downloads and updates like that. I was talking about games like Nick All-Stars Brawl and Rivals of Aether and like third-party games where, oh hey, an update already came out for the PlayStation or the Xbox or PC, and it takes like a month longer for that same update to come out because, oh hey, Nintendo's quality checking things, which Nintendo's quality check, if you've seen the eShop, isn't really that good for third parties. It's filled with
quality
crap.
check is non-existent.
It's filled with crap. Oh my goodness.
Now, I like when games are delayed. I think that's a good thing for the most part because that usually means that they're fixing things or they're making things better.
But the things are already fixed on other systems.
Exactly. Like, why?
Because they have to be proprietary and do their own
infuriating me.
proprietary things.
I guess. Stop infuriating me, Nintendo. Just let me play my games
Yes.
and be happy.
Yes, which Nintendo won't even let you do that because they take down every single game they find online and not offer you an
I hate
alternative.
that they do limited time only downloads.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's a curse on.
Like, you can only get this for a limited time, so you're forced to buy it at the extreme price that it shouldn't be at.
Yeah, like the Fire Emblem game. Oh, that was like $60 for whatever, the special edition that was limited, or like the $10 that it was on the eShop that it's not listed anymore.
Special edition?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted it, but I wasn't gonna buy it. But I got it. It was bought for me for Christmas last year. I have it. Is it worth $60? Coming from somebody who owns it, I would actually say yes.
Hmm?
The game is not worth $60.
It's a collectible.
The game is worth maybe 10, 5, whatever. But inside here is a lot of things that would add up to at least 60. The cartridge is real. Like, it is insanely like high quality. So I do think that that's 60, that's fine. But like, if it was just to sell the game, like if it was to sell the game and only the game, I wouldn't have let anybody buy this for me.
Yeah, it's more of a collectible, like a piece to put up on a wall or on a shelf to show off.
Yeah, I actually keep it in the box because I'm worried that it's gonna fall and break, and then it won't be worth anything.
Yeah,
I keep it in the box, and yeah.
Yes, you need to preserve it, which Nintendo is not doing for their games.
Nintendo will never do that for anything.
Oh, it's absolutely terrible. They don't offer any sort of buy-in thing on the Switch, or when they do, it's severely limited, like not even 1/100th of the library that you usually can get for it. So you have to buy used online, which is terrible because you don't know what you don't know what kind of quality you're going to get when you're buying used, and Nintendo doesn't get a single cent off of it. Yet they still take down all of these games on every single one of these games that you usually should be able to download online for free and run it perfectly fine. They're just like, no, we're only going to offer like 1/1000th of what you want for an exorbitantly large price. And even if you try to justify it saying, oh, I'm supporting the original creators, no, you're not. The original creators,
you're really not.
Yeah, the original creators, you're just putting money into Nintendo's pocket and showing that no matter how crappy it is, you will still buy it. So
the initial creators oftentimes pan these things. They don't like them.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't like them.
Yeah, their Ocarina of Time online version is literally the worst version that you can play.
I was so excited to play Ocarina of Time on my Switch. I was like, all right, fine. The price for this online expansion pack, it sucks. But like, I have the money. I'm in the position where, I can fork it up. Even though I don't like it, I still want to play this. And I started playing it, and I'm like, this is garbage.
Yep.
It runs like crap.
It's terrible.
and then you have to pay extra. Why did I say $50 for the Nintendo 64 controller? A controller that's not great.
Yeah.
$50.
It's $80 for the Joy-Con, a pair of them, and they are so easy to break.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nintendo is greedy, and they don't make sense. I would say Xbox is the most greedy, but I'm going to go into that later in a future episode. I think Xbox is more greedy, but Nintendo as of late have been so much more greedy than anyone else, easily.
It's really weird. It's just like, bro, what the hell is this?
But like historically, I think Xbox is more. But like as of right now, in the past like year or two, Nintendo has just blown everybody out of the water with how stupid they're being with their greed. They're making bad decisions that is costing them money.
Honestly,
it would be one thing if these things that they were doing ended up making them more money in the end, and it was just a scummy business tactic, but it still made them money. This isn't making them money. This is hurting them. Stop doing it.
Stop doing this poor business decision, please.
Yeah.
Just stop.
They
stop doing things that are counterproductive to what needs to happen.
They seem like they're going down the Konami route.
And whatnot. I was getting so animated that I flung the cord that has my headphones plugged in. I just flung it and it unplugged everything. Because like my arm hit it and it just unplugged and everything went off. So yeah. We're gonna take a quick break because I need to get some water or something because I'm not gonna have enough voice for anything. We will come back with this topic at least to finish it off, if not to continue. But yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see you back after this break.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, am I doing it or are you doing it? Go on.
I wanted to give you that one, but we're back.
We're back.
Yes, we are back.
You had a couple more things to say about Nintendo, Joey.
Yes, I did.
Ended the podcast.
Yeah. Last thing I'm going to end off on is options, because Nintendo kind of sucks about it. I know I talked about it before with the Switch Lite, which is basically supposed to be cheaper version, but with how many times it's going to break, it's probably you're going to have to buy at least two of them, which is $400, which is more expensive than the other one. And the other two are exactly the same, just one is slightly better in mobile. And the better one should have been what the original was, because OLED screen, the PS Vita had it before.
Yes,
which is a failed it's a failed mobile console, and the PS Vita had OLED at launch. And not only that, it had Bluetooth headphone support at launch, and the Switch hasn't gotten it until recently.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks. But not only that, there's a whole demographic of people that play games that they don't live like us. Like, I know my disabilities are like couple mental health ones, and then I need to wear glasses constantly, which
mine are far more than that, but I won't get into mine.
Yeah, but
like we are stay at home, go to tournament gamers. We are like in game, like into it. We're gamers, and then there's people that just want to play a game every now and then. It's different.
Who just want to play casually.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking
nothing wrong with that, but
I'm not talking about just that. I'm also talking about people with other accessibility problems, like they're missing limbs, so they need to remap stuff. They're colorblind, or they have problems seeing, like a lot bigger problems. They're almost legally blind, so they need like colorblind options, or they need bigger text because they can't see as well. Nintendo doesn't offer those options. The most recent example of that is Metroid Dread, which it won with the Game Awards like Game of the Year, but has the worst accessibility options because it has none at all. There are no what?
Correction. It did not win Game of the Year. It was nominated for Game of the Year. It
Yeah,
won Best
won.
Action Adventure Game.
I'm sorry.
It got nominated.
I just heard
It
it
got
was
nominated for Game of the Year, which is big. Still big.
Yeah.
But
And I mean,
go
it
on.
won over Resident Evil Village and Ratchet
Yeah.
and Clank and Psychonauts too. Which
it won over those in the action adventure category to win. Yeah.
So it won an extremely well regarded in terms of the gaming community award.
Mhm.
And it's got shit accessibility. Like other games that are different from it or like on different things. Deathloop, which came out recently, has options for like text size. Basically, other. Okay. Metroid Dread.
Indie games have done better for
indie games
accessibility,
have
rather.
done better, and they're still updating. Like
Yep.
there are some indie games that are still updating today to give accessibility options, whereas Metroid Dread has no remapping things, no subtitle changing things because no subtitles, no colorblind modes, none of that. So people who have accessibility problems can't enjoy it as well as other people. Nintendo just it's mostly Japanese companies, but Nintendo's like the worst of the worst with not offering any of it. At least PlayStation has third parties which offers it, like Deathloop, which was an exclusive for it. And it's just, I know I'm not affected by this, but there are other people who are affected by this, and it's best to speak on their behalf, or at least for them, when there's not representation in the room. Because it is just...
when it needs to be said.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because accessibility is a really big thing in this world now. Where we need to allow the options. And these are options, mind you. They're not, like... they're not mandatorily put on the main people who are just like, oh, I don't like this because it shouldn't be in my game. It should be core audience. Like, no, it's an option. You can turn it on or off. I don't understand what the problem with that is. And not only that, there's some games where they don't add options which were in previous games, like Pokemon with the EXP thing. I know that's a contentious topic, but it should still be an option, toggleable. It should be on by default, but it should still be an option.
Yes, it should.
Yeah, it's because they had it toggleable for the previous games. They just decided to remove that. Because it's literally just like one extra line of code. That's it.
What it comes down to is Nintendo, they're overall greedy.
I mean, I wouldn't even say greedy. I'd say they're not willing to go the extra mile to actually do something that would help their, consumers, rather than,
Hold on.
oh, this is good enough.
Yeah. They usually just go for, this is good enough. They'll buy it because it's our IP. It's got the other part of the qualities. Nintendo just rides its high horse with all the other stuff it has. Because there are good parts about the Switch, being it's portable, so you can take it anywhere you want. And it does have great options for putting on the side. And having a dock is great, which is you get to choose if you want to play on the TV or portably, and you have the choice for both, whichever one you want. Their exclusives are really good, and you don't have to download all the games that you get physically. It's just great, but it has a bunch of downsides. Like that, Nintendo as a company...
majorly affected.
Yeah,
it really shouldn't be there compared to other companies.
Yeah, and it's so bad because a lot of people love their IPs. And they're just stuck on this console that's just a Frankenstein of all these old things that are trying to be updated to new ones, and then they move to a new console which removes most of the good things which were before. Or adds in terrible things like having to pay for online when Wii U is free. Because, oh hey, PlayStation and Xbox are doing it. Why don't we do it? Like, I love Nintendo and I love their games. They have,
Do a poor job of like actually, caring about their customers.
yes, they only care about the customer when they need to beg them to buy their games because they're not doing as well. Like when the 3DS first started out, nobody bought it because it was too expensive and there were like no games on it. Then they made it like better, and they didn't have to, but they added this ambassador program for people who bought it at the launch for like 10 Game Boy Advance games, 10 NES games. And yeah, it was good. They actually supported their customer. Then they went out of the way later along the line because the 3DS was successful to add in Ziplash, which is a terrible game for a franchise. Not only that, but also in the Chibi-Robo series, Photo Finder, which was just a spin-off of just taking photos of random shit.
Yeah.
And they were just like, if you don't buy these games, the series is dead as a whole, so it's your fault. And that's not how games work. If you make good games, people will want to buy them and play them. But in the words of Gabe Newell, if your service isn't up to par to what else is offered, then people are just going to go elsewhere. I know those aren't his exact words, but people move to piracy. I know the Switch games and the Switch emulator are constantly being uploaded to the internet for pirates. So, yes, I know it's illegal, but it's still an option. People are going to take whatever options they can afford and are morally fine with. Because at this point, Nintendo is just so backwards with its things that it's up in the air whether or not you want to support them or pirate from them.
Because they're not goody two shoes themselves. It's just like, come on, man. I have to do this now because it's just so scummy the other way you provided.
Yes. I'm gonna download so many copies of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door over and over so they just keep on getting money lost out of their accounts.
Wow.
Like, that's how it works. But still, like, they don't like supporting their games. They don't like supporting their customers. They don't like supporting their consoles. They basically do the bare minimum until there's enough outcry, in which case they do a little bit more than the bare minimum in a weird way that kind of doesn't work the best way for everybody. It's weird, but hey, that's Nintendo. Nintendo's a really weird company that
it gives the impression of being out of touch and tone deaf often. Of just like, and also just being disconnected from everyone as well.
yeah, because I
It's
mean,
like they're not trying. It doesn't feel like they're trying to, you know.
yeah, but then there's the benefit of the doubt because, hey, they're a Japanese company. They're an Eastern company. They mostly care about their Eastern thing because...
They from big Japan.
Yes, they're
I
from Big
feel like
Japan.
I'd still say that I can't give them that pass. They've been
I'm sorry, what was
they've
the
had
topic?
multiple sections of Nintendo for years.
The topic's just kind of Nintendo's... they have all these voices to listen to,
They're
and they
basically a
don't listen to
worldwide
anything.
company. They're a worldwide company. I feel like it's unfair to be like, it's not okay to give them a pass, in my opinion. In that case,
A pass in what?
A pass and just doing these things for the bare minimum because the Japanese audience are fine with it, whereas the Western audience aren't as good with it. Because
or like that, it's just like giving them a pass because they're only caring about just their
I don't
Eastern
think that the
views. Rather,
Japanese. First off, I think that's flawed from the get go. I don't think the Japanese market's just okay with it.
yeah, I don't think
yeah, it's
I'm
just
just saying,
it's
like,
just
I'm just
it's-
saying they're a worldwide company. There's no way that they only think about just Japan.
also it's the
You feel
whole
me?
yeah. Also with I'm gonna go back. Or I'm gonna go to fighting games for a little bit. There's a little thing called rollback netcode, which is a Western type thing. This is an example, but fighting game companies, which are mostly Japanese, it's completely free to have that netcode, which is considered the best in the world. But because it's not made by the Japanese companies, because, they have to keep their Japanese purity or whatever with their programs or programming, it's just... Sometimes Japanese companies are like that, where they're just like, oh, hey, it's not made by us, it's not made by people who are like us, so we shouldn't have it.
Joey?
Yeah?
I think we're getting off topic in
Yeah, I
terms
know.
of
Sorry.
Japan's social structure, and they're thinking, Any final words about Nintendo itself, though?
Hold on. Joey, pause. Sorry about that. We're back. I had something that I had to clarify. I wanted to get back up to speed on the topic. Where were we?
Basically, it was just me rambling about other things, about how like Nintendo works in the Japanese corporate world works. But we should go back to Nintendo and end off with just, Nintendo makes amazing games, but their corporate side is
very questionable.
Very questionable, and their options and different things that they offer also very questionable and limited as compared to the other options. Yes, because in a world of multiple options, you choose which one's the best for you, and sometimes Nintendo is it, whereas other times there's better options. Yeah, Sony, or what you'd like to talk about later, Microsoft.
No, Sony.
No, I mean,
Microsoft is never the better option.
Debatable.
It's sometimes better than Nintendo, but it's never the best option.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the... Okay, here's what I'd say. Depending on your options and choices and wants and stuff like that, it's all whichever one has the best options for you. Whichever one has the best offers.
Well, yeah, it's always personal.
Yes, so in personal, some Xbox might be winning in your personal opinion, Sony might be winning, or Nintendo. It's all personal because, hey, it's a person who's buying the console. They want to play games that they like.
All right. Yes. All right. And with that, we're going to end another episode of the Christmas Week Game Room Discourse Special. Thank you all. My name is Mike.
I'm James.
And I'm Joey.
And we will see you in the next episode.